fans? Alright, today we are going to go over my top 3 baits that you can use year-round, pretty much no matter where you're at. So, and when I say this, this is something that you can throw springtime, summertime, late summer, fall. You can throw it in the winter too, as long as you're, whatever, as long as your water's not frozen, I'll say. So, start off, number one thing I throw all year long is going to be the spinnerbait. Spinnerbaits, I mean, everybody knows they work great in the spring, especially around the spawn, stuff like that. They work really well. The only difference between the spinnerbaits that I throw in the spring and summer versus the one I throw in the winter is going to be this blade. Typically 90% of the time I'm going to throw a double willow blade. That is just my go-to spinnerbait. I love it. I have absolutely fantastic results with it. Now when I get into winter, and when I'm talking winter, I'm talking when the water's down in the the 40s, the 30s and 40s. That's when I'm going to go with that big Colorado blade. I want a big thump, because when you're fishing in the winter, you're going to slow yourself down a bunch. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll get that big Colorado blade, I'll chuck it out there real good as far as I can, and I'm going to do a slow, steady retrieve, just enough to where I can feel that Colorado blade thumping, just enough to get it to move. That's it. You don't want a real fast speed on it. Your fish in the winter, they're going to be really sluggish, they're going to be slow, but keep in mind, in the winter time, your bass are going to be looking for one meal. They're not going to waste their time chasing little bit bait fish and stuff like that. They want a big meal that's going to hold them over. So, as you can see here, that's not a small spinnerbait there. That's a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait. I do have a trailer on there, and the reason I do that trailer on there with this Colorado blade is because in the winter time, those fish, like I said, they're not looking to chase bait or chase any kind of food. They want something that's going to come to them, something they can just kind of latch out real quick, grab it, and be done. They don't want to go chasing anything. So a lot of times what happens is when they bite this, most of the time you won't even feel it. The winter bite is very, very hard to detect sometimes. But they're going to come by, they're just going to kind of go like this, and you're just going to feel a little bit of tension. And you got to set the hook. A lot of times it's going to be nothing there, but sometimes when you do set that hook, there's going to be a good hog on the end of it. So, another thing that I throw in the winter time that I can tell you that relates to that is actually like a Huddleston. I throw a Huddleston around my local lakes here in the winter when it gets cold. Everybody else has got their boats put up and winterized and everything else, and I'll be the one local idiot out there that's going to be out there fishing, and I throw that Huddleston a lot. And the reason I throw that is it's a very, very slow bait to fish that I creep along the bottom. And it does have a hook that's exposed. I would not throw anything weedless down there in the wintertime, because when they bite that, I'm telling you, you got like 1 second to get that hook set. It doesn't take much. A lot of times they'll spit it right back out before you even know it. But on to the next bait is going to be the jig. The jig, you can fish this thing. I fish it all year long. I don't think there's any certain point in time that I don't throw a jig. The only difference I make in the winter time throwing the jig is I will get a bigger style like mop jig, a bigger, a little bit bigger presentation. Like I said before, those fish aren't going to be out there chasing little stuff. They want one meal. They want a good big meal. So I'll throw a bigger jig. On the back here for my trailer, I'll usually use a little bit beefier style creature bait, something like like the bigger style missile D bombs, the Guggen bait, the bandito bug. That I haven't had a chance to try it in the winter yet, but that'd be another one I'd go with, and I'll probably leave it, most of the time I'll leave it full size too. Trying to think of the other ones I use. There's a couple other ones I use. Havoc's got a couple of them that are a little bit bigger. But anyway, my point is just keep your presentation big. That's what they're going to look for. Like I said, they don't want that small meal. In the springtime, when I throw a jig, then I'll keep a little bit smaller jig than this. I'll usually stay in that half ounce range, down to a 3/8, something like that. But in the springtime, I'm usually going to be looking for more of my brighter colors, my whites and stuff like that. And the reason being is they're going into that spawn. Either they're on that spawn and they're going to be protective of their beds, so I'll try a bluegill color then. Right after that, your bait fish go into their spawn, start messing around. So then I get into my actual true whites, my Pro Blues and stuff like that. And I'll throw them a lot. But like I said, the jig you can't go wrong with. As far as winter presentation, something on that, it's going to be a kind of a slow drag. And guys, don't overwork a jig, especially in the winter. The winter is one of them times, like I said, you're wanting a slow bait. Let that skirt do all the work for you. You know, it's going to be down there, it's going to spread out, it's going to look bigger. Let that jig work for you. Don't overwork that jig. Don't be down there and just every couple seconds just jiggling a little bit or anything like that, or trying to hop it. In the winter, I'm a slow drag that jig, especially over rocks and stuff. And like I said, drag it maybe a couple inches and let it set. Like I said, let that skirt pulsate a little bit. They'll eat it though, I'm telling you. So last but not least, guys, I don't know of any fisherman out there that hasn't thrown this or isn't a true believer in it, but the Senko. You can't beat a Senko. I don't care how bad you want to, you can't do it. This thing works in spring, fall, summer, winter. It doesn't matter. It's going to work. You can rig these things weedless or throwing in the summer around your grass and mats and stuff like that. This thing works great. It's just a weightless bait, just throwing it out there close to the bank, letting it fall. That slow fall gets bit. If you're on a little bit of a harder fishery, fish aren't biting as well, you rig this thing up wacky style. There's a whole nother technique right there that works great. As far as the winter, in the winter, what I do is actually, I use a swim head on this. And the reason I use a swim head is, or even like a half ounce to a 3/4 ounce shaky head will work too. But I want this thing kind of stuck up like this, and it's a dead stick. I don't do a whole lot of movement with this. It's a dead stick. But I want that hook exposed. I don't want any chance of it being laying in here or barely skinned hook or nothing like that. I want that hook exposed. In the winter, that is a very, very important rule to go by. Like I said, you don't get many chances in the winter. I mean, you're going, summertime, you're going and you're looking to catch, let's say 20 to 50 fish. When you go in the winter, and I mean the dead of winter, you're looking for 2 or 3 bites all day long, if that. Sometimes you don't even get that. So make sure you got that hook exposed. It's going to increase your hookup ratio. As soon as something latches on there, you know, a lot of times maybe they'll even hook themselves, and all you got to do is just drive it in there a little bit deeper. So like I said, I definitely keep that hook exposed. But once again, don't be doing this, don't be moving this thing a lot at all. Let it just do its thing down there, and just kind of bring it through the gravel or whatever you're fishing down there, and let it set. And when I say let it set, I used to hear a lot of older fishermen, when they talk about, you know, throwing like a rip bait or a jerk bait, you know, they'd say they throw it out there and they jerk it a couple times and they'd let it set. They'd set long enough, they'd smoke a cigarette and go on about their day, and then come back to it and jerk it again and go have another cigarette. You know, that's how winter fishing is. It's a very slow process. I mean, you really, really have to want to do it. It's a grind most of the time. You're going to be out there, it's cold, it's miserable some days. But guys, I'm telling you, some of the biggest fish I've caught, and the healthiest looking fish, have been in the winter. The fish in the winter, they're not going to fight nearly as much. You may hook into an 8-pounder, and when you're reeling it in, you're going to say, well, it feels like a good 2-pounder. There ain't much there. But that's winter fishing for you. They just don't fight a lot. They don't have that aggression like they do in the summer when the water temps are up and everything like that. So make sure you keep that in mind. Don't be out there trying to rip them through and this and that and think you got something small and try to get it all the way to the boat and try to go swing it. Make sure you get a good look first. So that's about all I got for you guys today. Don't forget, you know, we did we're going to do the giveaway. Got that coming. You'll have all week long to do that. You know, like I said, it's going to be a pretty good giveaway, so keep that in mind. But don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button. And if you would, please make sure you're sharing my videos, get them out there. I really, really want to get to 1,000 subscribers this year. I know it's probably not going to happen, but I'd really like to push for it. So if you guys could just help me out a little bit and just push as much as you can, I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys again next time.